Hi, Ronnie Sanders, Auburn Undercover, Rob Brown, SEC Sideline Sports, and let's get started. Lot to talk about, no question today. I don't know how long we'll go into the show before we use the F word, football, but we're definitely going to be talking about basketball. Final Four, Auburn Tigers, Florida Gators in the semifinals on Saturday. Executive producer Brendan Martin. We've got a wager on that. Maybe a year's supply of crystals. Just that would be a great one, but it's going to be a great matchup. And Duke and Houston will play in San Antonio. Ronnie, I was texting with Jason Caldwell before the game, and after, and he a lot going on up there. To beat a Tom Izzo team, it takes a well-coached team to respond, to go blow for blow. Auburn jumped out on top of Michigan State and never let up. I think Michigan State had the lead for 22 seconds of the 40 minutes of the game. I'll take that 8 days a week. Now, getting set up, Doug Dean's going to join us in just a second from Birmingham. He'll be on in a minute. But this Auburn team, they look like they're on a mission.
They do. I mean, watching with my family, I was really, it looked like they were playing hard for 40 minutes and didn't let up. It looked like a team that we saw earlier in the season. So I feel pretty good about Auburn's chances. I also feel pretty good about the other three guys' chances. I think it's a loaded Final Four, and it should be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and everybody remembers February 8th, Florida came into Neville and took Auburn out. And I think they're both different teams now. Florida's, I think, better than they were then. Auburn got better and then kind of slowed down a little bit after the win at Kentucky. And they're 4-0 in the NCAA tournament, which means they're playing great. It's a six-game tournament. That's all that matters. When you start looking around at stars on this team, Johni Broome, John Brady's on our show in the mornings. He said he's got kind of an old man's game. And people are asking, will he play Saturday? I don't think security guards could keep that guy off the court, or anybody at this point, could they?
I'd have to agree with you. I think he'll play. How effective will he be? I think he'll give it his all. Will he be 100%? I don't know if we're there yet, but I do think he'll play. And my guess is that he'll be as effective as he can be. Will that be what he normally is? Yeah, I don't know about that yet.
Yeah, what's unique about Auburn is they've played all three of the teams. I can't play themselves, but they beat Houston earlier in the season out in Houston. I don't think it was on campus, but it was in Houston.
So it was a great game.
It was.
A game, something like that.
Yeah. And lost to Duke December 6th, I think, 84-78. Play that game on a neutral site, play it at Neville. Probably goes the other way, but hopefully they're going to get a chance to prove that. And then Florida. Lost to Florida by 9 at Neville February 8th. What's your worst case scenario if you're Auburn against Florida from the last game into now?
Well, I think the worst case scenario is it goes like it did last time. It ended up being, I think, what'd you say, a 9-point game?
Yeah.
I'm not sure it was that close.
No, it was not.
Yeah.
It was not.
It was, Florida kind of ran away with it. And, I don't think that'll happen this time. But I think Florida's really good. I've been saying for several weeks now that Florida may be the best team in the country, and they may be. I think Duke and Houston are really good. I think Auburn and Florida are really good. It should be a terrific Final Four, and I think any of the four can win it. Personally, I would lean toward either Auburn or Florida, the winner of that game. But that's me. I just think both those teams are just phenomenal. But look, Houston and Duke are good too. But I would lean toward the winner of Florida Auburn.
Yeah, and you think about the matchup. Florida's 5 big guys. And Alex Condon, Houck, this guy from Pennsylvania, he's doing it all, and he's making a lot of money. You keep hearing that his stock is going up. You think Chinyalu, Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin. There's a lot of talent on that Florida roster.
Absolutely.
Auburn's big guys. You got Johni Broome, and you think about Chaney Johnson, and you got Dylan Cardwell. Dylan, not known for his scoring. He's had a few double-digit games in his career, but he's the winningest player in Auburn basketball history. But defensively, he plays lights out all the time, and he just makes everybody around him play better. Looking at the game also on the free throw line, Dylan, I don't think I've ever seen this before from a major, Division I college basketball player that I can remember. Shoots less than 30% from the free throw line.
Yeah.
Is there a Bhagwan or a guru or a mystic out there who can work with Dylan?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. But no, he brings, and Bruce Pearl was talking about this earlier in the week. He brings something to the table that all those other guys don't. And if he can keep his teammates focused, Auburn will probably win the whole thing. But if he can get his as a captain, if he can get his teammates focused, keep them focused on the prize, then Auburn's going to be really hard to beat.
You look at Tahad Pettiford, freshman.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I sent an agent a text a couple nights ago, basketball agent. And I said, if you're not recruiting Tahad Pettiford, you should be, because he is something else.
He really is. And he talked about the Jersey guards. You go get, and the NCAA tournament does get down to the big guards. Florida, Walter Clayton Jr. I mean, he was a 4-star football recruit out of Lake Wales, Florida. I don't think he was rated in basketball. That matchup with Auburn's guards, and you've got to have Todd Pettiford, Denver Jones. You can't have a night where Auburn shoots poorly from the guards. I don't think you can have that and have a chance to beat Florida Saturday.
No, I agree. I mean, I think everybody, especially if Johni Broome is not 100% healthy, it's going to take everybody, and it should be fun to watch. I mean, I'm excited to watch the whole thing. It should be a lot of fun, and for Auburn people, getting to the national championship game and certainly winning it would be something for Auburn basketball.
Yeah, and it would. And you think about Johni Broome, the official John Wooden Award winner, the Naismith Award, whatever. We don't know yet, do we?
It's
I mean, how big a deal is it?
I think it's a big deal.
Like the Heisman?
Yeah, I mean, I think these kids are it's important to them, and it's important to the program. And look, I'm not as versed on basketball. I know this, that in football, if you have a Heisman winner, it's a big deal. Yeah. And I think in basketball, Player of the Year is probably equally as big a deal. Like I say, my background's in football, so I'm not as versed in how basketball people look at it. But when you have a Heisman Trophy winner in football, that's a pretty big deal.
Well, I think Kerry Jones, he's an Auburn guy up in Lebanon, Tennessee from Mobile. He watches our show a lot. And last week he said, here's my big three. He said, best guard, shooting guard, Walter Clayton Jr., Florida. Best power forward, big man, size-wise, Johni Broome. Most complete player, Cooper Flagg. Coach John Brady said on my show this morning on Sideline Sports that he calls Cooper Flagg a point forward. Never heard that term used before, but
I actually have back in the 90s.
Okay.
I think that's what I think at times, maybe after Michael Jordan retired, somebody called Scottie Pippen that. But I remember that. I've heard that term.
Yeah, and he talked about how he's all over the court. He does everything. I don't know if he led the ACC in any particular statistical category. Like Johni Broome was second in the SEC in scoring, behind I think the freshman Trey Allen at Texas. But you look at what Johni Broome means to the Auburn team. I don't think I think that's undervalued. And when he came out of the locker room after going down and hitting the elbow, and everybody said knee, elbow, ankle, what have you, there you go. The guy comes out. I mean, I'm certainly not a doctor. I wasn't surprised at all to see him come out. And then, we talked about the history. Now everybody is talking about Willis Reed. I'd love to see how many Google searches there have been on Willis Reed, since this happened. So, and Buddy Martin wants to jump in here with us right now, and he knows a thing or two about the Gators. And this matchup all year long, Buddy, I go back to John Brady, and John Brady said this back in November on our show, and he's been to the Final Four with his LSU team in 2006. He said, Florida's the team that I think will be in the Final Four, might be the best team in the SEC. And here it's happened. Florida and Auburn and Houston and Duke, all 4 number 1 seeds have made it. First time since like 2008. Buddy, what a matchup. How'd you like to be covering this?
Well, I would like it. I don't want to go to San Antonio today, but I would like it. Good evening.
We'll put you on a plane.
Yeah. Hi, Ronnie. It's been a long time. Good to see you again.
It has. Good to see you.
Yeah. And Rob, since Ronnie's a football man, I'll shift this over just a second and talk about it. It's the first time I've ever had the right 4 teams in the Final Four, ever. And of course, I've took it with chalk, and there you go. And it's a miracle of miracles. But I wrote a column today. You guys identify with this. That you remember Florida Auburn used to be just about football. Okay.
And they used to play every year before 1992.
I actually did some research on that, Ronnie, and I ran down the stats on it because it was the third when I started covering Florida football. It was the third biggest rival on Florida's list. Auburn was.
Same at Auburn. I mean, it was Alabama, Georgia, Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, FSU. I wouldn't count Miami, but next to really Georgia, Florida. Florida, Georgia, as we say. And Auburn. There's been some great games. I have a lot of close friends who are Auburn fans. My dear friend Frank Watson. We had a bet going on every year that whoever won, he had a toy ship in his house. And whoever won that year, the ship had to face toward Gainesville or Auburn for the rest of the year. I think I finally retired at the final year. I did. There was a time when Auburn was the biggest snake pit for Florida. Florida couldn't win there. Get this. In 1969, they lost 1 game the entire year. In 1969, and it was to the Auburn Tigers. That was when John Reeves, who was a great player, threw 9 interceptions, a national record.
Yeah.
But there's so many great games here playing football. I like Auburn people. I always got along with the classy people. That's even when they're rolling toilet paper at Tumors, they're still classy people.
I love that.
You mean there's not a good comparison there between LSU and Alabama fans?
Probably.
I like that question.
But Auburn is, and now here we are. This week, at least, and through this weekend, we're basketball schools, right? Mm-hmm. Basketball. I mean, look, I'm looking at my wall. There's a picture of Spurrier kicking the field goal that won him the Heisman against Auburn, right? Yep. I go back a long way with the Auburn Tigers. I think they started playing in 1912. I wasn't around then. They started playing in 1912, and really just a fun play and a tough place to play. And now here they are. Last time I remember anything about this series, it was the Auburn Shuffle days. You guys probably heard that one time.
Joel Eves, yeah.
Joel Eves, that's correct. Who was from Georgia, as I recall.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting this weekend. What's going to happen? Great players. I was having some fun in the column today on Gator Babe. That if you look at the key players, what they are and who they are from the outside looking in. Obviously, the best player in the country is at Auburn. And his name sounds like something out of a Salem witch hunt, or maybe a wicked, whatever. Johni Broome, like his witch,
Yeah.
And what a player he is. I don't know if he's hurt or not. Maybe you guys do. Certainly, he came back in the game in a hurry. I was a little surprised how fast he came back in the game as he did. And so it's going to be a fantastic. I mean, Florida put a whooping on them. Let's be honest with them in Auburn. Now, was that?
It wasn't as close as a score.
Yeah. I mean, no. And was that an outlier? I don't know, but I know they're very, very good, very, very good. I call it the Tiffany series. Ronnie, is the pearl versus the gold, and Tiffany. So it's going to be a heck of a game and a rivalry. But I do miss those football days.
I do too, and I miss the maybe I'm too. I still miss. It's still weird for me for South Carolina and Arkansas. Maybe I'm getting old, but it's weird for me. And then you look at A&M and Missouri. I guess I'm way behind. I'm still confused with Arkansas and South Carolina.
Yeah. Doug, jump in here, buddy. We're talking a little. We used the F word just then. Football.
Oh no, hut.
No, but Buddy had it's a good day. Let's get your thoughts on this matchup, because Buddy's right. It used to be myopically Auburn, Florida football. I missed the hell out. I've been to the Swamp. I've been to, I think I counted 23 Auburn, Florida games over the years. Oh, wow. So it's a great rivalry. But Doug, jump in here. Doug Dean in the Magic City.
Buddy Martin, great to see you. How the heck are you, man?
Good to see you, Doug. Nice to see you. The tournament's going well. It's fun, and we're going to find out about this new rivalry between Auburn and Florida in basketball, of all things.
It's awesome when you're like Auburn and you're having to wait a little longer to play actual big boy football. At least this will tide us over, and then some. I shouldn't use that word "tide," if you know what I mean. But that's bad juju. So you know what I was thinking. And there's the four teams in this. If you're a fair person at all, and most of the media I think has been, they've got to fill up 24 hours of coverage 7 days a week with something. So I'm pretty forgiving of some of the head scratcher opinions they make. But for the most part, they would agree. Whoever of these four cuts the nets down, we shouldn't act wildly surprised. Maybe mildly surprised. I think if I don't want to get in the heads of your fan base, buddy, but I will anyway. If I'm a Gator fan, the way they've surged all year long and been a darling of the media, and they earned it through great play, they absolutely earned it. And one of the signature resume items was that virtual beatdown in Neville Arena. But we should be mildly surprised. I'd be disappointed if I'm a Gator. I'd be real disappointed if I'm Duke and you can't, close the deal. But all I could think was when we hear someone described as having generously mentored an up-and-coming protege, that's really praiseworthy normally, right? What a noble thing to do. But if I'm Bruce Pearl, I'm saying, man, I wish I'd really sucked at mentoring Todd Golden a little. Yeah. I mentored a little too well, and that's not to take anything away from Coach Golden. He was probably going to be a great coach one way or the other. And Florida's sitting there saying, man, look at the long runway we've got with Golden. Even if he doesn't make it to the cutting the nets down Monday night, he's young, energetic. He's got a great future. I can't see him going anywhere. There were jokes about him considering Auburn, but Florida and Auburn are maybe at best on a par in terms of your ability to win the whole thing. So after all of this, watch Houston win 2 games and cut the nets down, because that's kind of the one I least expect to do it, in no small part because they're running up against a freight train Saturday night. What do you think, guys?
I'm a little afraid of Houston too. I just don't know. They're really good on defense. They got some players that you haven't heard much about who are really good. And Kevin Sampson's got his team playing well. He likes his team. I don't know. What if they upset Duke? I don't know. I don't think they will. But again, this is the Final Four, and it's a very small margin for error. It's anybody's tournament.
Yeah, I agree with Buddy. I think that any of the four could win it. It wouldn't shock me to see any of the four win. If I was picking, I would. Florida is my slight favorite. Probably with Auburn next, but that's me. I could certainly be wrong. I'm not a basketball expert, but just watching all of them play, to me, Florida stands out, and I think Auburn does too. Like I say, I think the winner of the Florida Auburn game probably wins the whole thing. But that's my guess.
Well, I hope you're right, buddy. You're the perfect fella to ask this. In the UConn game, which was a near-death experience, metaphorically, for the Gators, and to their credit, they showed moxie down the stretch against a really difficult coach to go up against, and then had their, similar stress down the stretch against Texas Tech. You can read that two ways. Wow, this is a team of destiny, Florida. They're going to find a way to not get beat. Or can you also look at it legitimately, like, for whatever reason, they're not getting and keeping a fast start in those two games, just those two? Does it even mean anything? Is there a little bit of worry among Gator Nation just from how those went, or are they just focusing on they found a way to win? That's all that counts.
Great question.
It's a great question. I don't know. My experience has been that every team that wins the championship has a close encounter or two. Yeah. And certainly Florida had their fair share there. I still don't know how they won that game the other night. I mean, to be down by 10 with 3 minutes to play, the remarkable play of the Gators.
Walter Clayton.
Walter Clayton was
and Houck. Houck is impressing me.
I love him. See, and Denzel Aberdan. Houck and Denzel Aberdan are two of my favorite guys. I have been all year long, as Rob knows. But I mean, Clayton was just. I mean, the stats I read on him were staggering. Like, he touched the ball so many times. That step back three he made, he dribbled in and dribbled back out, made the three. He just don't do things like that in a situation. And so he's been incredible. So I've learned not to put anything past his team. There's something about Clayton. He gets better when there's more on the line. Late in the game, he missed 4 threes. And then he made them all. And then he just, not only does he want the ball, he feels like he's going to, and his coach says, he never gets too high, never gets too low, and he can shoot the basketball. Give me a guy who can shoot the basketball. I think I like my chances. So, yeah, I would say that, no, I wouldn't think those two games scare me that much any more than I would say that Florida should beat Auburn by 25 points because they played so well against them. This is a different game right now.
I think this is a single digit. Whoever wins, it's single digit. If I had to guess.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right. Yes.
Dylan Card. Well, by the way, those who are breathlessly, and if I run into the fella that thought it was funny as an April Fool's, guys, to say Johni Broome is out for the entire tourney.
Yeah.
That's not an April Fool's. I'm going to ask him if he's ever had a country ass whipping.
Yeah, that's right.
My mother, who is a diehard Auburn fan, has texted me 4 times wanting to know if Mark Sears is transferring to Auburn. I said,
that was the other one.
Yeah. I said, no.
And, of course, buddy, DJ Lagway's in the portal. Remember that one yesterday? Mm-hmm. People forgot what day it was.
I did at the so-called reverse Tiger Walk, which, buddy, whether you know or not, that's when Auburn is on the road, especially in a big basketball game, and they're about to hop the bus and the plane. As they leave the athletic complex, fans line up to, send them off. But all eyes were glued on when Johni Broome finally walked out. And it looked to me like he was able to move both arms. Of course, I think Bruce said he wasn't going to play it, even make him move at all until Thursday practice. I figured Johni needs less practice than most players. Just call me crazy.
Buddy, I like what Doug just said, and we all saw the text yesterday. DJ Lagway in the portal. Come on. Mark Sears to Auburn. But I want to make a comparison in your opinion. You've talked a lot, buddy, about Denzel Aberdeen, why he doesn't get a lot of the publicity. And then you got a guy at Auburn kind of like that, Miles Machine Gun Kelly, a transfer from Stone Mountain, Georgia, went to Georgia Tech, passed calculus. I know this guy's smart or he can suffer. Job and him have a lot in common. But there's some underlying stories. Buddy, how many Final Fours have you covered in your career? I know more than 5 probably.
I think about 8. I can't remember them all. I can't remember those. But, yeah, I mean, most recently, not too many, but I had some great ones in the first-time game. But, no, I mean, the Final Fours are exceptional. That's Saturday for Final Four. And I'm a football guy, Ronnie is. But that Saturday Final Four is like the year in terms of interest. When you're there and all the bands are playing, the 4 teams are in it, and it's crazy. I've seen some of the great ones there, and whatever. Of course, the one I saw, biggest one was Albuquerque when I picked NC State to get drubbed by Houston. But I just say that it is a spectacular event and something that if you've never been, try to go if you can get a ticket, which probably can. And it is really one of the hallmark things of all sports, not just college sports. And it's just never gotten worse. It's gotten bigger and better all the time. And my gosh, it's huge right now. I don't know what the tickets are going for now. What, 3,000-4,000? I don't even know.
A couple of thousand if it's worth it, damn.
You can get them.
I've got 4. I have 4 available if someone wants them.
I believe you need to sell those suckers.
I mean, it's a friend of mine has them. 4 club level seats for the whole for all 3 games.
How much?
4 for the whole package.
How much? 400? 4,000 for the whole
4,000 for the whole for all 4 tickets.
Well, I guess a good buy for somebody.
Yeah.
You get to. I think for Auburn people and some other teams, this might be the end of one of the last years we really get to enjoy some of these player personalities for 2, 3. In the case of Dylan Cardwell, it's been 4 years, hasn't it, Rob? I mean, he was not as known 4 years ago, but because he wasn't getting playing time. But here is Dylan Cardwell, who's has become a darling of the Auburn fan base.
Yeah,
he said I got tired of hearing about the 2019 team. Now he loves those cats. They made the Final Four. How could you not love them? They got high.
Oh yeah.
And he said that's all you hear about. I've been here 5 years, and then this is my favorite part. He said, and the password to Neville Arena is 2019. And the password to the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi is 2019. They've got a 2019 banner outside the arena. And so he said, we can't get it out of our head. So we've decided we got to do something ourselves to put them on the map. And what the signal there, not the noise, is Dylan Cardwell just forced security to change the code on Neville Arena.
I love it.
By going public with it. That's so funny. To me, it is.
He did. I mean, buddy, look, you said you may have some technical issues. This is awesome getting your take on him. Kevin Skarbinski had to take a rain check. He's under a deadline. You don't hear that much anymore, but buddy, you know what I'm talking about. Deadlines for writers. God, and you'll be on tonight on this channel. So the Buddy Martin show at 9 p.m. Eastern. But if you can.
I got a question for Buddy. Yeah. And it's a subjective answer because officiating in some ways is subjective, but there's a school of thought, which I guess I buy into, that the unspoken rule among officials and their bosses is that, by golly, when you get to the Final Four, if not the Sweet 16, let the kids play. Now, you can't have assault and battery and not call a foul, but do you think there's something to that, Buddy, or should some of us who are paranoid by nature, that's me, about officiating, should we hold our breath to see if they're going to be, calling our frontliners or Florida's or any of them for breathing on the other player? How do you think that the psychology, what's the expectation among the officiating crew, do you think, Buddy?
I'm conflicted about this. My colleague Fran Spirit, he's all over the officials all the time. He's got that website.
We know.
Tells you about who did what, how many calls they make, whatever. I just think you can get too caught up in that. You can't become paranoid about it. But I will say there's been some really, really, really questionable calls and no calls. France claims it's like sumo wrestling now.
Yeah.
He claims that
the non-calls is what kills me.
Yeah.
Clayton, he says, has been beat to a pulp. I don't know if that's true or not. I think you got to let it go at some point, Ronnie. Don't you? Let it go and say, if we're going to play through. It's like balls and strikes. You can bitch about them all you want. Pretty soon you got to get them, hit the ball, and take the medicine. But it's under a microscope because everything is so big and so important, and everything hinges on one little call. What drives me batty is the last 2 minutes of a basketball game
which lasts 45 minutes.
Yeah. So I don't know. So that's crazy. Some changes need to be made, but in the end, I don't think we're going to be talking about necessarily the team that wins got the breaks. I mean, if you get 30 foul shots and the team gets 10, you probably got to complain about it. But I don't think it's something we need to focus on.
Yeah.
Well, and I grew up watching the Pistons and the Bulls in the 80s and 90s. I mean, I think these guys,
So did I.
these guys today don't even know what a foul is. I mean, go play against Bill Laimbeer and Dennis Rodman and see how you come out.
Yeah.
Well,
hey, no one will ever forget though the Lakers. No, the Lakers playing the Celtics. Johnny Most, the legendary radio play-by-play guy for the Celtics. Larry Bird hit a guy elbow in the eye. And I'll never forget Johnny Most. It's a famous radio call. He goes, "The other player rammed his eye into Bird's elbow. I can't believe they called a foul." That's a serious foul.
They found an earpiece in Johnny Most's ear in her literature that was in there. It really was in there for a long time. Our friend told me in Boston.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah. And radio is a great way to consume it. I will say that.
Yeah.
Can I just bitch at Paul Feinbaum for just a minute here?
Yeah, it's a target-rich environment.
He's a friend of mine, and I think he's done a fabulous job. But I am really, it makes me sound like a homer, which I guess I probably am, but in some regards. But I don't think Feinbaum has given Florida 1 ounce of credit along the way. In fact, he said in his mouth, he said today, Florida was very lucky. I mean, what team isn't lucky when they win? You have some breaks. And then I really want to know. Let me get this right. Let's see. Florida was lucky. Auburn is great. Alabama had bad luck. Except, you get my drift here. Let's get it right. I mean, I don't think Florida deserves to be leading the parade, but it took them to be forever just to get a chance to get a number 1 seed.
Yeah,
they grudgingly got that number 1 seed, and at every turn, including at Auburn and against Alabama, they proved themselves. Yeah, they made some mistakes. They had some hiccups, like Georgia, being down by 26 and coming back and going ahead and losing the game. But I mean, I think sometimes we get myopic in our own ways. We all do it when we're watching our teams. We all want them to win, and we all kind of root for them. But sometimes you got to give it up to the other guys. Coach Spurrier used to say, they get scholarships too.
Yeah.
I don't know what, to pick up your rebuttal of Feinbaum. And he's a gifted talk show host and knows how to stir and then be classy. And just, he walks that razor thin line between being a good interviewer and being a flamethrower. But I don't know what you would have to ask Florida to do more of. The only piece of hardware missing is in the hands of Bruce Pearl, and that's winning the SEC regular season. But for goodness sakes, that's pretty damn forgivable in a year of the toughest in history, any conference in the Southeastern Conference. And that's why I want you guys to don't tell me, Rob and Ron, what you think I want to hear. Tell me what you really think. I know y'all do that anyway. I wonder how derided I would get when I say I'm already grateful. If Auburn falls to Florida, we just lost to a really good team. And to make the Final Four is a big dent. To me, it's like making a playoff at the Masters with Tiger Woods and he makes a birdie putt from 40 feet. What can you do? But you don't walk away in shame. You walk away proud that you played that well, even though it stinks. So I'm grateful, but on behalf of these kids that have worked their rear ends off, really all 4 of the programs, I would not be satisfied if Auburn can't cut the nets down, but I'm extremely grateful. Is that about right, or do you think I'm being wussy?
No, I think you're right.
It depends on how they lose it or win it.
Yeah.
8 foul shots.
If we get sent to the line and can't make 2 foul shots and that's it, that'll be hard to swallow. Yeah. And that could happen with Auburn.
Yeah. But if it's a full 40, bodies flying, guys diving in the stands, going for balls, leaving nothing to chance, you can – I detest losing. I want to be the first one out of bed in the morning.
We all
That's
do,
my
yeah.
wife. And, but if they give everything they've got, you'll learn from it. And we've heard it said before.
I think Auburn's dangerous in this tournament, guys.
Yeah. And
not a lot of people talking about them.
Now there's a steal by Murr. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. Right at 1 second left. And Boston has a 1-point lead with 1 second left. Oh my, this place is going crazy.
This guy deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He deserves to have his microphone fully retired. And I hope I'm there when they do it.
He gets it out deep, and Havlicek steals it. Over the stand goes. Havlicek stole the ball. It's all over. It's all over. Johnny Havlicek is being robbed.
Oh, man.
The moment. Now play Hoosiers.
Yeah. Let's get Gene Hackman out here. Wow.
I 3 times since in the last couple of months. I went and bought it. But back to the point about
God, that was awesome.
Winning or losing the game. Did someone take it? Did someone lose it? And I heard this exchange the other day on TBS. Can't keep up with network. It says on the discussion about Florida and Florida winning the game, and it was Barkley said, "Well, Florida was very lucky. Texas Tech gave the game away." And Kenny said, "Hold on. They did not give the game away. Walter Clayton Jr. took the game."
Yeah.
There's a big difference in the two.
But, that it is I heard someone talking about, I think it was on your show this morning, Rob, that I would hate to be a reporter, a post-game reporter, and you got to go to the presser with the losing team. And it's just eating the heart out of these kids, what they dream about, and to get that close.
Yeah.
If they lose the championship game, but hey, that you got to live with the agony so that the mountaintop is all the more joyous.
Hey, it's like Richard Nixon said, never can you know what it's like to be on the top of the highest mountain if you haven't been through the deepest valley. So
yeah, and just the atmosphere going out here, guys. The Alamo Dome, but 50,000 plus going to be there. Like Butch Thompson always says, when you're walking from the dugout to the plate, don't let the moment be too big. And the problem with so many people today is it's not that they aim too high and miss. It's that they aim too low and connect. Yeah. It's the psychology, the mental part about it. But what a awesome panel we got here. It's kind of like the unfasten your seatbelt signs are on and feel free to smoke and walk around the cabin. I love what you're saying about these matchups, guys. And Doug, you
haven't heard, and you can overdo. I thought there came a point where the media narrative in Auburn, Michigan State game tilted just a little too heavy on legendary, historic, iconic coach Tom Izzo. We all know he's an unbelievable coach. I don't think they're inside of Auburn could have won that game by double digits if they weren't muffing around at the end. But, I mean, you never felt like it was in danger that much. If they got it under 5, then you start sweating bullets. But and not to take anything away from Izzo, but I'm fascinated by the the millennial coaches in Duke and Florida, and the old geezers in Kelvin Sampson and Bruce, and they, both of those latter two have a young spirit about. They're healthy and energetic. Bruce especially, very animated. But I would love to be in the planning rooms the last several days especially with Bruce and Kelvin, and see if they are going to try to use their, many more years of having seen it all with what you can throw defensively, offensively, throw at an opponent that they're not expecting, that throws them into chaos and disruption. It probably comes, Todd Golden has said it really, Bruce and I know everything each other's doing. It really comes down to the players executing. I don't disagree with that, but I do think one or both of those coaches could try to throw a little bit of a hanger, a high inside hanger, and or especially early in the game, just disrupt them a little. It looked like when Florida knocked Auburn off so decisively at Neville, they, among other things, they were doing this half roll around screens, and it was getting their shoot. That's why they hit, was it 14 threes, Rob? In that game, it was
14 or 15.
They just smoked Auburn from deep.
Killed them.
Bruce, you can bet a focus has been try your best to limit them on threes. It's easy to say, hard as hell to do against this Florida team.
They can all shoot threes. The bigs can shoot threes.
Yeah.
There's so much depth in this. I don't want to go on about it, but I mean, who ever heard of a 10-man roster of guys that can play 10 if they wanted to? And they're so good at not just the bigs. And they run the floor, pass the ball, shoot as good as anybody. But you take those guards, they got 5 guards. And we go back to that old thing France always says, they have 25 fouls to give in the paint. And they all play, and they all run, they all pass, and they're just so gifted. There's really not a weak link in that roster. And that's the thing. If you look at the games, you'll see this. I'm not making this up. They are always playing for the last 4 minutes, because they get you to the last 4 minutes, they got you. You can't shoot with tired legs, Doug. You know that.
Oh yeah.
And that's what happened to these guys. You better have more than 5 or 6, because you're going to need 7 or 8, or you're going to have your tongue hanging out. And that's when they beat you. You can't guard a guy like Walter late in the game with tired legs. So This is the strategy he's used. And like they keep saying, they come at us in waves, and they do keep coming at you in waves. So that's worked so far. Will it work? Maybe not. Maybe it would be too much.
Buddy, I'm sure they keep a lid on some things, but do you have anything to report on? Is Alex Condon 100% from his ankle?
I don't know if 100% would be right. He's okay. He's good to go. He'll play. He'll be fine. He'll be playing. I would say he'll be a full go. Yeah. Good.
I mean, you want these kids that they work so hard to get to these moments. You want them to experience it, win or lose.
Yeah, you do, and you want Johni to be able to go at it too. I don't know what I've heard so many stories about his injury.
Yeah,
I know
it's just the non-shooting arm elbow, as far as I know. He came back out running. I don't think the leg is an issue unless it's swelled up later and we don't know about it. But I'm probably guilty of a little wishful thinking in saying that.
Here's a question I have for you. Would y'all all agree one of the underlying stories, we hadn't even talked about it yet, has been the self-control of Chad Baker-Mazara? He made a promise to some lady when they were leaving to go for the original first weekend to play Alabama State. Keep it cool. He goes, yes, ma'am. I mean, he's been amazing. In spite of Bruce Pearl saying he's got a bony ass when he fell on the floor, I talked to my intern, Oakley McFerrin's a freshman at Auburn, and he gets around town. He's going out to the Final Four. I said, what the students think about Chad Baker-Mazara? He said, God, people love the guy. He brought 840 donuts and handed them out to the students in line to get into the Alabama game.
He's one of those. He's easy to hate if you're the other fan base, you know.
Yeah. Well, Doug, you tell that narrative, buddy, and Ronnie. You had a great narrative. Don't buy into.
I think you were more impressed with it in terms of airtime on here than I am, but it was basically
accurate.
You know, look, what coach who has been around a while and recruits players who have talent, doesn't find himself managing a player who, on the one hand, he's really helping the team, whether it's defense or scoring or just this leadership and spirit, the spunk he's got. And I'll tell you, sometimes as fans, we look at stat sheet and what's the biggest number? Oh, Johni Broome had 25 points. Those are critically important. And Broome's first half against Creighton kept us from being run out of there the second half, but the way they were hitting threes. But sometimes one or two shots that are made in really, really critical moments, it's as if they're worth 10 points. And that when Broome was out and Sparty was trying to make a run when we didn't have our best player in there, the ball went – Dillon muffed a shot at the rim, but he got the rebound, kicked it out to Denver. Denver quickly got it over to Baker Mazar, and he drained a three. Yeah. Shots like that, not every player has the moxie to even want the ball in that spot. You're thinking, I don't want to be the guy that misses this shot if they come back. And I don't think most of these players on all these teams by now really want the ball. I don't care who the player is. But, I just think Baker Mazar is one of those that you got to manage him, and there are certain lines he could cross. If he got in another clearly flagrant 2 fight, Bruce might have no choice but to sit him, God forbid, the rest of this weekend. But I think the real interesting thing is going to be all things considered, does Bruce want another go-around with Chad next year, because he does appear to be eligible? Your thoughts, guys?
Well, I think that the other thing, Doug, and it's not really the answer to this question, but I think, having a guy like him on the team chemistry is super important, because if you've got guys around him who can handle him outside the head coach or the assistant coaches, that's really what you want on your team is somebody who can control those guys like Chad Baker Mazara who can be difference makers both ways if you're not careful.
Yeah, buddy, I hope that Bruce is once or twice has shown this game film to the team.
Yeah.
If y'all don't come to play, this is what these guys can do to you.
And I tell you, another guy, my buddy, you talked about Denzel Aberdeen a lot. And I say the same thing in the audience. Last year, about this time, it was in May, I'm in the Cracker Barrel on I-40 in West Memphis, Arkansas. See this guy in Auburn shirt checking out, said hello. His brother is Chris Moore, plays for Auburn. Chris was on the show a couple of days later. You talk about a guy, he doesn't care if he scores a point. He just loves being on that floor. Who was a guy or two for Florida that you've been watching this team, Franz, Brendan? If you want college basketball, Franz is going to be out there. But who are some unsung guys that maybe you think could step up for the Gators? And I want to hear Ronnie and Doug say the same thing about Auburn. We may have already mentioned them.
Well, I think they're all sung. Nobody's unsung. I think you've seen the best of what they can do. Tommy Hoff has just been amazing. He's no longer a secret. He's going up, and his stock's going up in the NBA draft already. Yeah. I'm afraid he might be a first rounder and leave. That's what scares me there. But I think there are guys like Klobuchar. You say, who is he? He's the guy who's like Lithuania, whatever. He gets in a game 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. He can knock down 3 for any place, and he's pretty good on defense. And you'll Sam Alexis. You'll see. I could pick one up a hat. Any one of those guys could do it. Chimilu is a guy that we haven't heard from. He's a stud in the middle. He can bang on you. He gives a great stick back. He's a rebounder. There's so many of them. Like I said, the guys I liked who were the underdogs are now well known, and everybody knows them. There's your roster right there. How if I mentioned here, Denzel I love, and then Elijah Martin we know about. So you pick one. Alex Shonda's been one of my favorite players all year. I got to go with Walter. I don't think it'll be somebody that that we haven't seen play before. Either all these guys here.
He's incredible. Buddy, you get to be the deciding final vote in the Wooden Award National Player of the Year, hypothetically here. You don't vote in that, or do you?
I do not.
Okay. And it's not a fair question, because if you ask me if I'm fair, I like what Field of 68, is that podcast, I think? they've touted
Yeah.
this idea. Let Broome and Flagg be co-recipients of the Wooden Award, because it's not Flagg's fault that the ACC, I'll say it, they suck this year, except for the top 2 or 3 maybe. North Carolina's down. They suck, except for Duke. And so how would we know how good Duke is? I can tell you they sure look good in March Madness so far.
Yeah.
And then their schedule, lack of strength of schedule doesn't matter. But how would you analyze this difficult vote between those two? Let's just assume it's those two. It's what the media seems to
Well,
think at this
let's
point.
back up for a second. When did they vote?
They've already voted. It was a couple of weeks ago, and the votes are embargoed. It gets announced April 11th.
Yeah, I mean, it's like voting for a national champion, in the polls, but before the final polls out. I don't get too caught up in it. I have no problem with either one of those guys.
I agree.
But what if Florida goes in there and Walter goes for 30 and 30?
Here comes the homer.
How can he be eliminated?
You can't help yourself, buddy.
I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, so I don't know. I would
change
say
my question.
it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant at this point in time.
It is.
Yeah.
I should care less. I just want it for Broome. I don't want it for Auburn. I want the nets cut down.
Well, no, I understand. And I think Broome was a heck of a good player and a good representative. Don't get me wrong. I have no problem with him winning it.
Flagg is going to make more money.
Flagg is younger. He hadn't done all the things he's done. And Broome is coming at a tougher route, had to go through a tougher route. He's got to play through pain this week. So I would be okay with either one of those guys. I know.
If the vote were day after or Monday,
mm-hmm.
if you're an Auburn person, you'd sure like the emotional effect of how Broome had to come back in with one arm, make a rebound, and drain a 3 to ice that game.
He had his ice moment, then he had the problem.
Disney movie film right there.
He didn't make the Monday finals, so what does that mean? I mean, there you go. So,
yeah, exactly.
It has a lot to do with that. I want to go back to the point someone talked about was it you, Doug, talking about the calls on some of the CBS games and how he embraced and I found myself complaining about the so-called Eastern bias at a time like that. They got
Seems to be real.
They got so caught up in Michigan State Izzo, they couldn't see what was in front of their face. And these guys are used to doing all these games. And again, not being knowledgeable, they just sort of blew off the teams in the SEC. So there has been some of that. But again, it depends on what we know. That's what they know. It's like, well, we know it's the SEC. So, and I like Bill Raftery. He's a good guy. I've had him on my show many times, all that. But he was the worst. He went crazy over Izzo, he did. So, yeah. And I guess every fan base has that complaint. Like, I'm a guy who liked Gary Danielson. Nobody else in the SEC did, right? I liked him and thought he was good. And he played a major role in Florida winning the national championship with the list he put out when they got to play for the national championship at Ohio State, when all the big guys, the ESPN, won the rematch for Ohio State and Michigan. Kept begging for it, Anyway, so I guess we all have our own biases toward the bias of the announcers. But to your point, I don't think people understand those awards well enough to know what it is and what it means and how you vote and who votes. It's just hard to understand that.
And they can publish criteria. So far as I know, this happens with the Heisman. And they can say, here's what the award criteria is.
Yeah. And
the voter can summarily dismiss all of that. It's like jury nullification in a trial. And it can say, well, I'm going to vote based on, I'm just really deeply moved to tears when I see that Blue Devil logo. And they vote according. And again, not that Flagg is not. If Flagg wins, I'll say he's absolutely worthy.
Yeah.
I just think you go strength of schedule if the metrics are even close between Broome and Flagg.
I haven't seen Cooper Flagg play but maybe twice all year. I know he's a great player, but I think that has something to do with it. I've been in the Heisman voting every year. I have a hard time voting for a guy I've never seen play. I voted in for 35 years, and I just don't want to go voting for a guy because he's the popular choice. So I'll try to vote for the guys I've seen play.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, we got the cue from Brendan. We'll go ahead and wrap this up. But awesome panel discussion today, and the questions. I mean, they're making you think, and it's going to all take place. Saturday, Auburn and Florida going at it, and eventually we will get on this show. I know next week we will mention the F word and talk some football. But
Feinbaum or football?
Yeah,
Florida,
that's right.
Florida.
That's right. Hey, but look, this was awesome discussion.
Hey, buddy, three Jewish head coaches in the Final Four.
No,
This is unreal.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
You think about the fact that Pearl, and he had gold in what's that called, the Maccabi games.
Yeah.
Maccabi, yeah.
That's something. How about that? And the other is a minority. He's an Indian.
Yeah.
Or Native American.
Lumberton, North Carolina. Yeah. There's a lot of storylines, and man, this
I got no pick. Y'all know what emotional pick. All three of the four of us, and Buddy likes Florida. That Florida's hard to argue with that pick. The firepower they've got and the way they play. I'm going to be watching with interest. Does the anxiety of being in the Final Four have any kind of bearing on the young puppies? What are they, 34 and 37 years old, Shire and Golden? I don't think it will. We would have probably seen that already if it was going to happen. But I don't think Bruce and Kelvin both understand when you get to this point, hey, the players win or lose the game. You can help a little as a coach, but they got to go out and make plays. Yeah,
it's going to be incredible. Awesome for executive producer Brendan Martin. Thank you so much, Buddy, Doug, Ronnie. Golly, man, we'll be doing it again next week. Stay on this channel.
What's Ronnie's pick? I didn't hear Ronnie's pick.
Ronnie?
Didn't hear your pick.
I think it's going to be really close between Auburn and Florida. I'll pick Auburn, but I think it can go either way. And I think the winner of that game wins the whole thing.
I like Auburn against Florida, but by the narrowest, it might be one of these, like somebody hits a buzzer beater, it goes to overtime. The reason I do is I think Denver Jones is 100% my guy. Looks like he is. He was not exactly that, not to make excuses. Florida kicked our rear. But I think Auburn's going to have some answers, and they're playing with a lot of confidence. They've recovered the defensive form they had midseason.
Yeah.
So it's not going to shock me. I'll tip my hat to the Gator Nation if they win. And I think whoever comes out of that one has got something for Duke or Houston. Probably Duke.
Absolutely.
Thanks
everybody for watching.
The Auburn. I take the over. Also take the over.
Yeah.
Take Florida.
Y'all have a good evening, guys.
All right, y'all too. Everybody be careful. Pay attention to the weather.
Good to see you, buddy.
Thank y'all.